Oh, I'm muted. I was muted. Welcome in, guys.
I'm muted.
And that's my echo. Should be fixed. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Thursday. Happy Liberation Day. A lot of stuff to go over this morning. A lot of craziness. Waiting for everybody to join in. And we're going to get started. That's the game plan. Yeah. Welcome. It's a crazy session. It's a crazy market open. You guys, I'm sure, are seeing it, right? We are down several points on the S&P 500, right? We are down several points. The bear flag on SPY has been proven, right? You guys are seeing it all happen here on even smaller time frames. And this is going to be a big focal point of what we talk about today. We're going to talk about SPY. We're going to go over the failure of the daily 200 SMA on SPY yesterday's session. The daily 200, not quite, I mean, not perfectly daily 200, but still a very big level yesterday that we failed off of. And on top of that, the Trump tariffs, right? Across the board, massive tariffs hitting, everything failing, right? Qs down multiple points as well. Qs under 460, a very critical level. Qs yesterday, 473 was the pivot. We spoke about this in detail yesterday. 473 was the level, right? This was the level I was trading off of all day yesterday. 473 for shorts, 473 break and retest. Everything sort of worked yesterday on the Qs. The problem was SPY's chart super grindy, right? SPY very grindy, but if you look at the QQQ, actually quite a nice chart, right? Actually decent respect off the 473 yesterday and maintained really well, right? First, you saw the initial rejections off the 473, then eventually chopped around for a while, but broke above it. And we're going to talk about the hold yesterday, and then now obviously the failure coming in this morning. So there's a lot of stuff to go over on the indices side. But on top of that, today becomes an important session because it's not just going to be all on the indices side. We're going to talk about things on Apple. We're going to talk about the demand on Apple. We'll talk about the demand on Amazon. We'll talk about what my plan is on a lot of these equities. If you guys are in Honey Drip, I know many of you guys are in Honey Drip. You know I'm going to be posting today about some long-term holds. That's my intention actually, is to spend a lot of my day today, not even just on day trading, but also kind of getting a grip as to what we're going to do for our long-term positions. Like, what am I going to be adding to? What am I going to be sort of rotating out of, right? And for me now, it's mostly just ads, right? It's going to be mostly a lot of ads and a lot of these beta names because you have to be looking at these pullbacks on a larger perspective as this is a buying opportunity. Right now, I know obviously the short term, this is definitely there's definitely some short opportunities, but in the longer term picture, names like Nvidia, names like Apple, names like Amazon, right? There are some demands we can watch out for. So we're going to talk about sort of not only just a short term play today, but we're also going to talk about larger term ideas. And I think it's important on down days like this. We're not just going to all talk about, hey, let's short every pop. Obviously, we're going to talk about that in the short term, but there's also going to be some ideas we talk about in the longer term picture. Okay. So my sound is not good. You guys are saying my sound's not good? Is my sound okay? Can you guys hear me? Let's do mic check, mic check, mic check. Can you guys hear me? Make sure everybody can hear you. Sound is fine. Okay, perfect, awesome. So I'm looking at my chat over here, guys. Just so you know, if you see me looking to the right, it's because I'm reading the chat. But people are saying my sound is good. Okay, just let me know if it gets bad, because if it gets bad, then I can change to a different mic. I have like a backup mic. So what I want to do is I want to dive into our econ data. I want to talk about the actual tariffs that hit last night. So you guys probably all are aware of what's going on. Trump tariffs across the board, pretty bad, right? The market was not really expecting it to be this high. You're seeing pretty much a blanket 10% tariff to almost every single country outside the United States. But then you have some countries that are seeing elevated tariffs. For example, China, 34%, EU, 20%. Japan 24%, Vietnam 46%, right? Pretty high tariffs across the board. The blanket 10%. Some met expectations, but some were a little bit beyond what the market was anticipating, and that's why the market is seeing a pretty wide range sell-off. You are seeing specific sectors holding up better than others. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the difference between financials. We're going to talk about the difference between your chip names, because chip names are going to be impacted by a lot of these tariffs. And we're also going to talk about maybe some of those predominantly U.S. companies that aren't going to be impacted so much by tariffs. So that's the game plan today. We're going to talk a lot about that sort of sector rotation idea. But before we do any of that, I want to talk about our data for today. So beyond the crazy liberation day from yesterday, we are also in a important session today as well from the econ side. Economic data today, we have international trade in goods and services, and then jobless claims 8:30, which has come out about 7 minutes ago. Now, PMI 945, right? That's also going to be important. ISM 10 o'clock. That's what we have on the docket for today's session. That's pretty much all we have. Now, tomorrow, Jerome Powell is speaking at 11:25 a.m. Now, I don't recall this being on the docket this week. I don't remember seeing this. Now, I could be very wrong here, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I did not see this on the docket until this morning. So I wonder if this is an emergency meeting. Usually it's indicated as such. But usually during periods of intense market volatility, you will see Powell come on. I don't know if this is one of those meetings. I have to kind of look and see. We'll find out tomorrow as we progress. But tomorrow, 11:25 a.m., Jerome Powell is speaking. Okay, that's what we have on the docket. And what I want to do is I want to talk. Oh, it was on the docket. It's been there. Okay, so it's been there. It's been there. Okay, so on the SPY chart, or it's not SPY. Where's SPY? Here's SPY. On the SPY chart, you guys saw yesterday's session, the bear flag, right? I mean, this is what's going on here in the short term. For me, yesterday, our approach in yesterday's session was understanding that we were still in a macro structure downtrend, right? And even if you go to a larger time frame and you just reset everything here, you're going to see what just happened on the SPY was, in my opinion, very important, right? You guys are seeing the first real shift on the daily time frame from an overall macro bullish structure, right, to an overall macro bearish structure. And this is different from what we've ever seen before, because even yesterday's session, there was the possibility of us reclaiming 574, right? This was a very serious possibility. If we reclaim 574, we would then be back in a bullish structure and we'd see upside. And that was something we talked about, was the idea of reclaims. Like if a reclaim happened, that's what we would see. But yesterday's session, we did not do that. In fact, we just concluded that there is a bear flag in the market, and we concluded that this is a macro bear structure here on a larger time frame. And not only that, but it's very rare to see the market, SPY in particular, rejecting off that daily 200 SMA. This is what instilled that larger time frame downside move the past week and a half, 2 weeks. If you look previously to see kind of what happens when we reject the daily 200 SMA, you can see previously, obviously downside moves occur, right? So we break a hold above it and fail it. You can see historically, you see some pretty aggressive downside moves. And that's kind of what's happening right now. You're seeing an aggressive downside move after rejecting off that daily 200 SMA. Now, if you go back to a smaller time frame, right? If you go back to a smaller time frame, let's go back to that 1 hour time frame. Let's get an idea what's happening today. So basically, the past week, we've done a few things. We did a first initial bear flag, right, back into supply, and this was a supply rejection downside move. And then again, we formed another bit of a bear flag on that from all the way from the March 31st all the way to yesterday's session. And this again was another bear flag, right, for the downside move to come in. Now, this type of move yesterday was so difficult to catch on the short side. I talk about this being obviously a bearish structure, but if you shorted yesterday, and I actually shorted yesterday, I shorted a few different areas. Really just one area. I shorted right here. I shorted this 560 area yesterday's session and barely got any move, right? This was not enough move to make money. Nobody made money. Nobody made too much money on puts yesterday. Unless you really got the exact high yesterday's session, it was very difficult to get the puts. And of course, the downside move comes in right after tapping off the major supply zone, the top of the bear flag, and occurs right at market closure during the Trump tariff announcement, right? So this is all very classic after hours market manipulation, right? This is what you would expect, crazy moves. Now, what do we want to see for today? So obviously we saw the upside, the grindy upside yesterday. We see the crazy downside today. What does that mean for today's session? Well, for today's session, it means this. It means it sucks if you're not in puts already, right? Obviously, you want to be in puts already. If you're not, I'm not in puts already. But if you want to get in puts today, it's not going to be buying the lows here, right? If you want to get puts, you want to look for the pop and fade today. And the thing I'd watch for today's session is I would watch for puts at the 550. I'd also watch for puts at the 555. That to me would be the best possible scenario. If you tried to short yesterday's session, trying to short a hole yesterday to 555, you got stomped on, right? Today's session, you should be looking for pop and fades. Pop and fade into 550, pop and fade into 555, right? That should be your mindset today's session. This would be a solid chart to watch out for, looking for the pop and fade and pop and fade. If the market does continue to sort of fizzle out today's session, where do we go to? Well, we have a daily demand here around 544. 544 is a daily demand. It's a small daily demand, but it's where we are producing a hold this morning. If you go to the daily time frame for a second and you just zoom in and get a larger picture here, you can see that there is a lot of it's really 545, right? 545 is that little daily demand. It's that gap fill that resulted in the big upside move back in August. This is a small level. It's not a big level. The big level actually is 540, right? You can see 540 right in front of us, 540, 540, 540, 540. In my opinion, if the market does lose 545, we should fade back into 540. And that's the next big daily demand here on the SPY. If you lose 540, then the next level is 535. Those are the big levels we have on SPY. It's 545, smaller, more of an it's still a daily level, but not quite as strong. You have the 540, which is going to be your macro demand zone, and you have your 535, which is going to be another macro demand zone. So today's session, if you do see us begin to fade out today, which obviously we already are pre-market, you're seeing aggressive fade pre-market too. Well, if you lose this 545, then it's 540. But you must understand this today. You do not want to be short into a macro demand zone, because even if you want to get puts today, this is not going to be a short, right? Look for this to happen today. If you're going to watch for shorts, look again for the pop and fade, or you want to get aggressive, look for the break and hold back under 545 for that trend downside move back into 540. But again, only as far as 540, because that's going to be a very big demand zone today's session. So again, demands across the board. I'm just showing you guys the levels, right? Yesterday's session was a very tricky session. It was a very tricky session. But if you understood levels and realized, hey, we're above 560, don't short anymore. And at today's session, if you realize, oh, we're above 540, don't short anymore, right? I think that you're going to be well prepared for today's session. That's all you have to know. Look for pop and fades and look for the failure back into 540. On the ES chart, it's so simple. On the ES chart, you can see over here, right? Let's just get rid of some of these intraday levels now. And we're going to go to a daily time frame here. We're going to zoom all the way back out and let's get a larger idea here. The larger idea here is that there is a very big level, obviously at 52.57. And this is very far away. Even in SPY's chart, that would be like SPY 530, right? This is a very far away level, but that's your very macro demand zone below that 52.59 level. 5260 level. But before that, there are some other levels to watch out for. The first level we must watch out for, and this is, again, would be an extreme low, will be 5400 ES. This is a level I know it's a macro downtrend, but I would even open some short-term longs here today, right? If we do trend back into this, which would be a far-fetched move, I would look for knee-jerk reaction longs at this level, right? I think that there's going to be some sort of mean reversion play off the 5400 level. And that would be what I'm watching today's session if we do pull back to that level. And again, this would be counter trend, but it would be a very solid mean reversion level to watch out for. Big demand zone, you can see huge demand, 5,400, right? You also are seeing the bear flag, of course, here on the ES chart, but that is, of course, what we're seeing across the board. On a smaller time frame, there are some other levels we have to make some adjustments for, right? The smaller time frame level I think we should all watch out for is this 55.31. It's that Monday low. Monday's low is going to be really important on SPY's chart or in ES's chart. If we are below that Monday's low, it's probably just a fail, right? We probably just fail back lower, back down to that 5400 ES. And I know that's a very big drop to be expecting, but that's what I'd watch out for, right? That's the next level in ES's chart. There really is nothing but room under that 55.32 level until maybe, obviously you have a little bit of a pre-market low or after hours low yesterday, right? Or the 54.84, have that chart as well in your chart. But if you lose that 54.84, 54.83, that's where we're going to. We're going back down to that 5400 ES's chart. And again, this would be where I'm long today. So if you're trading on the ES today, you're going to watch for a few things. You're going to watch for the break and hold under 54.84 for a downside move back into 5400, or you're going to watch for this, and this is your A plus setup today, is going to be, if this does happen, I don't know if it does happen, this would be a gift if it happens, but it'll be a 5,600 rejection. Simple, right? If this happens today, this is my A plus setup for today's session. Would be the pop and fade into 5,600 ES. That would be my best possible setup today's session. A simple pop and fade, just like yesterday, right? The pop and fade technically worked yesterday, just took a long time, right? Now today's session, if it does happen, watch that 5,600 ES supply. That would be a very macro level to watch out for going into our Thursday, right? So are we all on board? Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Sounds low. The volume sounds low. Some people are saying volume sounds low. I hope it's not. It should be good. It should be good. Contracts didn't move because of high. Yeah, contracts didn't move across the board yesterday. A lot of things weren't moving. A lot of things weren't moving too much on the contract side. Anyway, on the Qs, on the QQQ, 460. That's the level to watch here in the Qs. 460 and 466. Those are the two big levels. If you're looking for pop and fades today, it's going to be one, a pop and fade here at 460. Look for that to happen. Or two, look for the pop and fade into that 466 area, which again is that it was at yesterday's. Oh, that's the wrong chart. Was the yesterday's level, right? Yesterday's level, you can see yesterday's opening price, right? That opening price, that demand open, right? The 466 level. This is that level to watch for today's session. If we do pop back into this, this would be your A plus setup for a downside move, right? That to me would be a very beautiful pop and fade. And again, this would be my A plus setup for today's session, this would be the equivalent of SPY tapping ES 5600. Okay, so watch the supply zone here, watch the supply zone 460. Those are the two big areas to look out for in this morning session here in the QQQ. People are saying make sure you turn your volume up, right? So I know we're transitioning from Zoom to YouTube, so there'll be some things that are a little different. Make sure your volume is turned all the way up, and you should be fine. Okay, so besides that, here in the Qs, I want to talk about the next level of demand. The next level of demand here on larger daily timeframes is 450. And again, I want you guys to understand something. Let's not come in today's session trying to short everything. There are some big levels of demand below, and the level that I think we should watch in the Qs is going to be 450. 450, 449 is a very big demand zone to watch out for. If we do fizzle out this level today, this would be a level I'd watch for longs, even short-term longs, even long-term longs, right? I would look for a position here, right? This is a very macro level here on the QQQ, right? You can see, look at the highs, look at the series of highs, the lows that came in here, the lows that came in here. I would expect an equal and opposite reaction, maybe not equal reaction, but I'd expect at least some sort of reaction coming in around the 450 to 449 area demand. So that's what I'm watching today's session if we do fizzle out to it as a technical demand bounce, okay? Watch that today's session as a big level, okay? What I want to do now is I want to talk about our tickers. We're going to start off with, let's do Tesla first. Let's go with the fun one first. So Tesla was tricky yesterday, right? And I will tell you guys, you guys will know this. I will tell you guys when I have the right bias. I will also tell you guys when I have the wrong bias. Yesterday's session, you guys saw something interesting happen here, right? You guys saw the 451 demand held yesterday on the Tesla chart. This was a very big technical hold. Market held at 251, ripped higher, didn't give a single rejection off 260, broke 260, retested 260, and ripped above that level. And not only that, but I think the best possible long spot was, if you guys recall, I didn't take this trade at all. I didn't take any longs in Tesla yesterday, but I really wish I would have, because I took longs on the Tuesday break above 270, and that was a nice upside move. But then look at the long side on the Wednesday break above 270. This again was another upside move play here on Tesla's chart. If you're going to watch for longs today on anything, Tesla probably is one to focus on still, because again, I want you to do something interesting. Compare SPY's chart here to Tesla. Look at SPY. SPY is how much percent down, how many dollars down from our opening price in Wednesday's session. We're down what? 2%, okay? Pretty substantial move, $11. Compare that to Tesla. Tesla actually is green. Tesla is one of the only names that is green from yesterday's opening bell price. It's up 5%. So Tesla still has a lot of relative strength on it. And for that reason, this is a name I would be sort of hesitant of shorting, right? The only way you could short Tesla would be if it somehow if it broke back under 260, right? The only short that you have here is going to be a short back under 260. If it does break under 260, you can maybe scalp a downside move back into 251. This could be a scalpable move, but again, I think this is probably a name. If the market does bounce today, you'll see a pretty aggressive upside move. So watch the 270 reclaim today. That's probably your best trade here is going to be a 270 reclaim. Because again, just like the past day one, day two, 2 days in a row, if it reclaims 270, you've seen the upside coming after that, right? So watch the break and hold above 270. This would be what I'm watching for today. If it clears 270, look for upside back in 280. This is a relatively strong name. This is an outperforming name, and that's why we should watch it today's session. Okay. Also, Tesla IV is going to be dropping, right? So recently the IV has been very high. I know you guys are saying that in the chat as well. IV is very crazy, but it's going to be dropping as the delivery numbers were on Wednesday. So it's not going to be important anymore. Okay, right. So let's move on. Let's go over Nvidia. Nvidia's chart. Nvidia actually was a long yesterday. If you guys remember, we spoke about the 110 breakout yesterday, right? You guys saw the 110 beautiful break and retest above that 110 level. I actually called this in the chat as well right before we hopped off live. This was a beautiful break and retest. You guys saw hold on, wait a second. Go back to my 1 hour time frame before we talk about that. So the 1 hour time frame here. The 1 hour time frame, we spoke yesterday about two levels. We spoke about the 110 level, and we spoke about that 107 level. Those are the two big levels to watch out for, 110 and 107. Let's first talk about the larger picture here. If Nvidia is above 110, upside to 112. If Nvidia is below 107, downside to 104. Now, what are you seeing this morning? You're seeing that the downside move has already been given, right? It's already occurred. The downside move has already happened. You're already seeing that aggressive downside break and retest the 107 for a downside move today's session. Now, yesterday it was complete opposite, right? The break and hold over 110 resulted in upside back into 112. Now, today, the only way we can really trade this is going to be like this. It's going to be either we look for a reactionary move back into 107 for puts. If we can look for a pop and fade today, this is probably one of your top setups to watch, right? Again, look for a simple move back into that Wednesday's lows for a downside move. Watch the 107 rejection. That to me looks pretty solid today. What you don't want to do, though, is you don't want to be short into 104 yet, right? 104 is still a technical demand. Obviously, if it starts to fizzle below here, 104, you can look for a pop and fade here, 104. But this morning, you're seeing us still sitting right at that 104 level. Don't be short back into Monday's lows. Again, Nvidia's chart Nvidia is a very technical name. It respects technicals just like any other stock does, but I think, in my opinion, even more so. This is a chart you want to see what's going to happen here at 104. Because if it fades at the open here at 104, you can look for that initial pop and fade. That would be a very simple trade today here in Nvidia. Because if you break 104, you're going back into 97. If it does hold 104, it's going to go back into 107. But that, again, would be an area I'm watching for a pop and fade type move, right? 107 as a pop and fade type move. On a larger time frame, and remember, I told you guys this morning, we're going to talk a little bit about larger time frame stuff today. Go to the daily time frame here in Nvidia and tell me where you think the next big level of demand is, right? You can look at the chart right in front of, okay, I'm giving you guys a major hint here. It's called the daily retest level, right? But if you remove everything here on Nvidia, just every single drawing you have on Nvidia, and you say, well, where do you think is a reasonable area to buy Nvidia long-term or maybe even get a big position in, right? Where do you think would be a reasonable spot? Well, it's right here. Right? That, in my opinion, is a daily retest level. That's the zone I'd watch out for. So it's not far-fetched that we see a pullback this 97 demand. It really is not far-fetched. And for me, I have been a buyer of Nvidia for a long time. I've been a buyer of Nvidia since 120, and I've been buying this whole move down. And my intention is to, spoiler alert, buy more, right? I'm going to buy more at 97. That's going to be my actual main area I'm buying is back at this daily support. You can see 96, 96, 96, gap fill 97. This is a very big technical level of support. Under 97, it obviously is going to have a little bit of aggressive moves back down to 80, which would be that next daily level. So if you're charting from just a daily time frame perspective, these are the only levels you have. It's 99 to 96 at the whole zone. It's 80, and then below that, it's obviously 50. But I don't think this ever would happen, right? So if you're watching for Nvidia equity, for me personally, it's right here. It's right, this area right here is what I'd be watching for. So even in the short term, if you are trading this Nvidia chart, did I say AMD? I'm going to say Nvidia. Watch this 97 level. Okay, watch that 97 level for a position. Even for like a day trade, you can probably scalp a nice move off the 97 demand. Okay, again, 104, 107, 97. Those are the big levels. AMD. We're taking way too long today. I don't know why we're taking way too long. AMD. AMD has met the move, right? I mean, this is what we spoke about. We spoke about this little bear flag and where we think that this is going to go. We said, hey, this is probably going to go to the bear flag lows, right? This probably goes to that bear flag lows. It's done it. That's it. Move on. There's nothing here to talk about here in AMD, right? AMD probably will find some support here. You don't want to be shorting AMD again back in 96.50. This is the bear flag lows. It's met the move, right? You saw the big upside. You saw the channel break, the sort of consolidation breakdown. It broke down under Friday's lows. It rejected off the 104 level yesterday, 104 rejection, and now we're back at 96.50. If you're a short AMD, this is an area that you probably are looking to be scaling out of your shorts. I think that we probably have some risk of a potential demand bounce here at this 96.50. So I think just be cautious of that. If you're looking for short-term plays, maybe you can watch that rejection in a pop and fade move, right? The same thing like every other name today, right? Look for a 99 pop and fade, or even look for the 101 pop and fade. This is your A plus though. Your A plus is the 101 pop and fade. Your A plus would be that Wednesday low pop and fade move. That would be a very solid setup today's session. Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about Apple. Apple level is 206.50. You can see we're sitting at support here, 206.50, daily time frame level. Under 206.50, we go back into 199.200. This is the next big demand zone. This to me is the equivalent of Nvidia 97, right? Can you guys see why? You guys can see why right in my chart. You can see precisely why this is the equivalent of that Nvidia 97, right? It's simply a double top daily demand, very macro level. If Apple does pull back to this 199 and 200 level, I would expect there to be some sort of demand reaction move. Look for longs off this level, right? The first tap of this level, I think, is going to be a solid long spot today's session. Even on the long-term position for your equity holds, if you said, hey, I want to buy Apple, but we saw it over here, and you said, damn, at this moment, if it's going to load, we said, damn, at this moment, I can't buy Apple because Apple's so expensive, right? I wish I can get Apple, but Apple's so expensive. Well, hey, this morning, you got your dip, right? Your dip is here this morning. The dips are here, right? So for so many people, what happens is they say, I want to get an Apple exposure. I wish I was in Apple longs. I wish I had it. I wish I bought it at 199, 200, right? They say that right now at 257, 258, but then when the market actually pulls back, they say this. They say, well, maybe it's going to drop lower, right? Maybe it's not going to work. Maybe it's going to drop lower. The trick is not to time it, just to buy at your levels. That's it. That's what I do across the board for your long-term positions. Obviously for the short term though, and that's why I'm here is talking about short term, is watch 206.50 today, right? You don't want to short 206.50. If you lose this level, you maybe can look for a move back into 199, 200. But again, this would be probably your best possible long position today if it does happen. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. PLTR 80, right? Nothing happened in PLTR yesterday. All we did was just grind higher back into supply, 90, smack down, right back into demand. This is not bearish yet. This is one of those names that's not bearish. Tesla and PLTR, to me, are still holding technical demand. If it's holding 80, it's holding demand. Let's move on. Let's go over Meta. Meta, 55350, right? Very, very big level here in Meta. Meta maintained the 580 yesterday. You saw a break and hold of 580 upside move. Again, the downside came in very swiftly into their after-hour session. We are back under that daily 200 SMA, that 580 level, and we are failing. We are failing pretty aggressively. We're back under this one-day low here, 555. I think today's session, if you're watching for anything on this Meta chart, go to the 1 hour time frame. You're probably looking for this today. You're probably looking for 555 to fail, and you're looking for a move lower back in 541, right? That's what you're watching for today. Again, though, you can see demand here at 541, demand here at 541, 540. Don't be short back into that big daily demand zone. But again, this still is a bearish chart. You can see, look at the lower highs on Meta, right? And this is so important across the board. Is if you are scalping longs, you know that you're scalping quickly. You're in and out, right? Look at this. You can still see you have a structure lower, structure lower, structure lower, structure lower, structure lower, right? That's why yesterday's session, even for myself, I was mostly bear sided. You guys probably saw. If you're in Honey Drip, you guys saw I was mostly bear sided yesterday. Probably early, right? I was a little bit early to the party yesterday session, but the idea is still presented, right? You did see yesterday's session the failures come in across the board, especially in Meta's chart. Okay, let's move on. Microsoft 377. Actually, this could be a solid play today. I talk a lot of smack about this Microsoft chart, but you can see Microsoft actually has a really clean level here, a low formed here at 377. If you're watching for anything on Microsoft, you're probably looking for this. You're probably looking for either a bounce at 355, right? 355 bounce trade, or you're looking for a pop and fade here at 377 for a downside move, right? That's what I'd be watching for. I think the best possible setup here would be the 377 rejection trade. Okay, I am reading the chat. Amazon, I'm going to go over the names I forgot. Amazon 180 demand. I mean, this is a colossal level. Okay, 180 is a very, very big level here in Amazon chart. I know that we saw it yesterday. If you guys look at this, right? Look, this is no surprise. Look at what they did yesterday. Look at what they did yesterday in Amazon. Break and hold above 192, upside move, and then what happened? A smackdown precisely at the 200 level here in Amazon. If you guys recall, I actually took a lot of trades in this Amazon back 2 weeks ago. If you were in the chat, I think we caught this. We caught first the bounce on that day one off 200 level, and the second day we got the breakdown. That was a super insane trade day one, day two, and then now yesterday Wednesday session we popped right into 200 at market closure. I wish that was during market open. That would have been an insane short. But regardless, you guys saw the downside move come in now. We're back at that 180 support zone. I would not be short here, right? Just transparently, this is a big demand. That's the thing. That's the problem today is you are seeing obviously aggressive moves across the board, right? Failures, downside moves, but you don't want to be shorting back into a pit, right? We want to look for the pop and fades. That's what I watch even Amazon chart. I mean, I would expect probably some upside off the 180, or I'd expect some sort of buying pressure coming here at the 180, and then maybe you can look for the shorts. Maybe you can look for the shorts back into here. But again, this to me is still a big technical demand hold, so be careful of that. Right. Looking at the chat now, people want Netflix, NFLX, Netflix, 940, right? 940, 960. I think to me, what does this chart remind us of, right? What does this chart remind us of? I want to just take a second. Look at this chart here on Netflix, right? Look at the chart here on Netflix, and then go over to AMD's chart. This chart is this. This is Netflix's chart. This is Netflix right now. Okay, this is what the Netflix chart looks like, and that's what happened that's what happened to AMD. Okay, and obviously Netflix's chart is doing the same thing. It's basically just in a consolidation break, right? It was in an upward consolidation, upward trend. It broke that trend. It broke 960, it broke 940, broke and failed 940. Now under this 900 level, I would expect a movement back down to 858. So today's session, if you're going to trade anything, maybe you can watch this today. You can watch the break and hold below 900. Under 900, you have downside move back into 858. That could be a potential short-term downside move today's session. If it does hold 900, though, I don't want you guys coming into the pre-market tomorrow morning and saying Brett told us to short Netflix, because I didn't. I said, hey, you probably could go short under 900. That's what I'm saying here. So understand that there is demand here at 900. Look for downside under that demand if it does break. Right. DKNG, DraftKings. I think Rav is in DraftKings. He's in an option swing position here in DraftKings. DraftKings level, I mean, to me is 30, right? You can see it's a very big level. I'm going to reset everything here. There's a big level here at 3.0. You can see 3.0 is an inflection point. I think that's maybe where it has to go to. And as long as it's holding 30, it's holding demand, right? This is a big technical spot of support. It probably can go back and test 40 if it does hold that 30 level. Okay. Let's go over. Are we full porting today? No, we are not. We are not full porting today. We are absolutely not full porting today. Today's session is not today. The past 2 days, yesterday's session and today's session we're coming into, I don't think is going to be a particularly easy session, right? I think it's going to be a trickier session than usual, and we've seen that for 2 days in a row now. I would not expect anything different. So understand that coming today's session. You said yes. People are saying yes. We are. Yeah, full port up. No, you guys are missing. It's full port Friday, so we'll be full porting tomorrow. Right. Let's do one last ticker. Let's do Costco. Let's do a fun one. Costco. Costco. I mean, this is barely selling off with the market here. For me, this is not a short. This is probably something you want to buy, right? Look for buys at 900. That's the next big demand zone. Look for reaction there at 900. That would be a potential hold spot today's session. Guys, it's 9:07. It's Thursday. Let's call it here. Thank you all for joining in. I'll see you guys all for live trading. Happy and safe trading. See you guys all soon. Bye, guys.